Okay, so in this tutorial, we're really just going to continue from where we left off, but this time looking at how we can do some more detailed visualizations in Tableau. So we started off with really very basic, simple visualizations, really only containing one, maybe two data points, but we really want to look how we can actually not only pull in more data points, but actually make the visualizations, even if they only have those two or one data point, a little bit more complex, more interesting to look at, and certainly more meaningful. So we're going to do that in this next tutorial. Okay, so here's where we left off at the last tutorial, but we just want to start from scratch. We don't want to deal with any of this that we've already created, because we were just kind of messing around. So what we want to do is we want to clear this worksheet because we're still using the same data set. We don't necessarily need to exit out and start all over again. We just want to clear everything out. So the way that we do that is up here in the toolbar. We can either click on this little bar chart with the X in it, or we can go into our worksheet menu, hit clear, and hit clear sheet. So we can do that one of two ways, but the easier one for me anyway is to click on this. So we're going to do that, and we are at our blank slate. The other thing that we want to do is, remember, we want to take a look at the currencies. So we're going to stick with this order total that we were using before, but let's go into that default properties and let's go into that number format. And yep, we've got this listed here still in currency because remember, we never changed it. So let's leave that as it is. And we will hit OK here. And so now let us start really building a visualization here. So let us go and we'll pull in that sale date again. So let's pull our order date, and let's put that up here into our columns area for right now. And then let's take, let's say, what do we want to pick? We'll do that order value again. So we'll do order value into the rows area, and we've seen this before, right? So this is nothing new to us. But see, look, here's the different. See, we still don't have that order value correct. So, you know why? Because I did order total. That's why. Order total. Let's go into order total. There we go. See, sometimes you pull in the wrong piece of data. So we were working with order total and not order value. And sometimes when some of the names of the fields are similar, it can get a little bit confusing. One thing I want to draw your attention to. So remember, we could change the years to months or days or quarters. We can actually multiply those out as well. So if actually, let me just go back. We'll do this again. So see how there's a little plus sign next to this? I can click on that. It'll expand it out into quarters. I can click the one on quarter. It'll expand it out into months and day. And that's kind of where we end. I don't really care so much about the quarter, so I'm going to pull that out. I don't really want that. I don't think I necessarily, let's see, do I want to keep the year? Yeah, let's keep the year. Actually, let's get rid of the year. We'll get rid of year. And so now we're just looking purely as months. But remember, when we're doing that, because we don't have the year in here, it's actually adding up all of the values that are included in that month and in that date across all of the years. So we're not delineating by year at this point. So we've got that going on. And we've got something that looks pretty interesting here. But I don't really particularly like the way this looks. So let's go into that show me area. And so we do have things side by side, but let's change. What do I want to change? Let's pull this out. Let's copy our order total And so now we've got something like that going on. And I'm actually going to pull out the date as well. So now I actually have two things that are exactly the same here, which is, it's interesting, right? That we've got two almost duplicate graphs here. Now, what I can do also is I'm noticing that now in my marks area, I have all, and I have some order total, and I have some order total. So what ultimately happens at this point is all controls both of these visualizations. And then the other two are the individual ones. So I can actually edit and change. Actually, let me get rid of show me, but I can edit and change one of these graphs now and not the other. So in this sum order total one, maybe I am a little bit more interested here in, let's say, the year. So let's pull that sale date into this graphic. And I just pulled it, I just dragged and dropped it into the second one. And so now what happens, it's really interesting here, is now I've got a different color for each year. And actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get rid of this other one too, because we're just going to work with this one right now. And so this might be a really interesting graphic, right? So really what all we did, and if you can look and see what happened now, is the year got pulled into the color area. So let me just go back. Go back to where we only had one graphic. Just keep going back. I could also clear things out, but we're just going to keep that. And we had it in month, I believe. So we're just going to change it to month. Okay. And the same thing that I was going to do before, that order total, I'm going to drag it into color. And oh, wait, that's interesting. That didn't work, right? Because now we've got a number of similar different, we're just looking at different colors. So what made that different? What made it different really was the duplicate. So I'm going to pull this out of color. I'm actually going to put it back in here again. So we've got the double graph. And then I'm going to actually, let me go back. The other thing let me go back. So we're just in one color. So that order total, I'm going to put it in here again. No, see, it just goes right into color. So that doesn't work for us. So what we really need to do is get that order total, have that dual graphic, and then we had the sale date year in here, and see, because I did it into all, I have all highlighted here, so that's not going to work. I could do all, and I could do sale date there. So let's change this again. Let's go all the way back. And oh, sorry, went too far. What was the difference here? Instead of taking that order total into color, I'm taking sale date into color. So I'm going to take sale date into color. That's what we need to do, right? So you really have to think critically about what it is that you actually want to be happening here. If I go into show me and I change it, now I don't have anything in color, right? So it really, and see, even if I go back now, it changes things around. So you have to think really, really critically about what it is that you actually want to happen here. So what is this actually showing? It's showing me all the different months, right? It's showing me the sum of the order totals in those months, but now I also have it broken up by year. And each year is represented by a different color. And we can see some interesting things going on here, right? So, I mean, I happen to know this data fairly well. You probably don't, right? And so if you remember from the last tutorial, I said that 2017 certainly wasn't a full year, and 2022 clearly is not a full year at this point. And we can actually see that pretty easily here, because we can see 2017 is our dark blue line, and it only starts in May, right? And then 2022 is a yellow line, which really is just a dot, right? Because it's only a couple of days. And we can also see that this 2018 was like an orange line. 2018 looks like it actually stops in October. So there were no sales in November and December of 2018, which is really interesting. We can also see that sales went through the roof, between March and April of 2020, which is kind of when the pandemic started. So I happen to know that the particular shop whose data I pulled was selling things like masks and things like that. And so that kind of makes sense here. So we can see some really, really interesting things out of this data. And again, we've got these tooltips that tell us exactly, ultimately what is going on here. So let's now see what else can we really deduce from this data? Well, this data does actually have, and this is just a really kind of basic type of thing here, but we can also see, let's just see what happens if we pull in shipping into size. So now we've got different thicknesses of the lines, right? And so we can see, and again, here's an interesting tidbit. We don't have the shipping here formatted as currency. So, we would certainly have to do that, but we can see how much this shop was actually charged in shipping, or how much people were charged in shipping. So we can see how the shipping changes really ultimately occurred. So, but that's not meaningful to us. So we're gonna pull that out. I might be interested in the country, how many things were going to the US and going to Canada. So we can pull that into detail. And now we're able to see things like, this is the United States in April. This is, I can't see that. United States, gotta pull this out of the way. There we go. Japan, we got Canada. So now we've got our lines broken up. Again, not particularly helpful to us. So we're gonna get rid of that as well. But maybe I care about the state. So we can put the state into detail. And now look what happens. Oh my goodness, right? And so not only do we have the colors for the years, but now we have a different line for every single state. And so certainly that might not be something that's meaningful. But what might be meaningful instead is if we actually pull our ship state up into our columns area. And so now we can see all of the different, if we scroll, we see we've got January, we've got February, and then we've got the colors for the year, and then each state is its own bar. So let's pull out the month though. And so now we have just the states. And if I switch this to, let's do this graph. No, let's do this one. If I switch it to this, now, I've got everything with the year. My states are now in detail. I don't want that. We still want this. Let's pull that out. And then we've got that line, and we don't have the color anymore. This is also not particularly a helpful graphic because there's a lot of states in here. So what we want to do now is really group these states. Actually, before we do that, let's talk a little bit about filters. So a filter is essentially just selecting certain pieces of data that you want to see. So this is representing everything in the entire workbook, right, or entire data set. So every single state that's represented, every single province that's represented. I might not care so much about that. So like in Excel, for example, you might do a filter and select, I only want to see these states. We can do something very similar in Tableau as well. So what we want to do, we've got this filter card here. We want to take our shipping state and drag it into filter. When that happens, a list of everything that's possible that's in our data set pops up. There's a lot in here. So we could take a look at this and see like AA, AB, AE, they tend to be military installations overseas. Null means that it was blank. There was nothing in there. We've got some states in here, but we've got AP is another military. BC, British Columbia, right? That's Canada. That's not even the US. So let's take that back and let's go to ship country. So we'll put ship country in our filter. And now we can see all of the countries rather, that are represented by our data set. So we only want to look at the United States for right now. So we'll click United States, we hit OK. It pulls out everything that isn't a US state. Now notice we still have AE, AA, AP is still in there because they're military. They technically are the US. So that's a technicality. But now we're interested in certain states. So now we can actually put that state into that filter. And we could have done this earlier too, but now we don't have to actually deal with all of those extra things that weren't US states. And so we're just gonna hit none just to X everything out. And maybe I'm interested in just the states that your schools are from, right? So I'm gonna click PA, New Jersey, and Delaware. So I'm just gonna click that. I'm gonna hit OK. And now I only have 3 bars: Delaware, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Now remember, I pulled out the year here. So this is for the entirety of the duration that's represented by the data set. And I can see that in terms of Delaware, there's been orders that got that from that state of $636. New Jersey's been about $8,500, and Pennsylvania's been about $13,000. So I can see that. Again, I might want to put the years in there. So I can take that sale date, I could put that into color. And now what happens is, again, we've got that same, point. I can see the different years and how much has come from that year. Again, I don't like these stacked bar graphs myself. So I'm just going to certainly get rid of that. And we can also theoretically see what might happen, because maybe I want that side by side. Maybe I want to see what happens if I put that sale date in there. So now I've got 3 different graphics here. One for Delaware, one for New Jersey, and one for Pennsylvania that now show me, the differences in that. Now, one thing that I can do is I can move these. So let me just move this here, flip them around. And again, I just want to show you what that looks like. I can flip it around and it's a different type of graphic. Again, I don't like the horizontal ones, so I'm going to put everything back the way it was, but I just want you to see the differences there. Also in the show me, I can change it to this kind of line chart, which I actually tend to like a little bit better, because now, let me hide this. Now I've got my years, I've got my dollar amounts, and now each line color now is represented by the state. If I go to a different one, we've only got really one date in there, so it's just condensing it, so that doesn't really help us too much. I could do this one. We can make it like a bar. This is the stacked one that I don't particularly like, but now we've changed it so it's not by state, it's more by year. So I like this one because I think that it's a little bit more, I think it makes a little bit more sense. But maybe I'm not as interested in just PA, New Jersey, and Delaware, but I'm actually interested in the areas of the country. So, PA, New Jersey, and Delaware are technically part of the Mid-Atlantic region. And then you've got like Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont. They're the New England. You've got like Florida and Mississippi and, Georgia. They're going to be all the southeastern US. So maybe I want to group all of these states by their region. I don't have that data in this data set, right? And there's actually no, intuitive way that Tableau knows that, right? So they haven't grouped them up, but we can actually do the groupings ourselves. So that's what we're actually going to take a look at next. So what we want to do is create a group. So you find the data point that you want to create the grouping on. So in this case, it's our ship state. You're going to right click on it and you're going to create. And here we've got another field that pops up. Do we want to create a calculated field? We'll look at that soon. A group, that's what we want. We can also create a set or a parameter. So we're going to pick group. And now we've got this field comes up, or this window comes up, and this is the one that's a little bit tedious to do. So what we want to do is we want to group these. So we've got, let's say, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, generally, I mean, of course, certainly folks can argue this by how you would want to do it, but we want to say the Mid-Atlantic. So we're going to change the name of our group to Mid-Atlantic. Actually, no, we're going to call it region. So that's what we're going to call it. We'll call it US region because we're only going to deal with the US. And we're going to group. So we're going to create a group and we're going to say, we're going to rename it. And we're going to say the Mid-Atlantic. Okay, so now we've got to find it. Where did it go? Where did you go? Oh, I'm not sure where it went. So we'll just click PA. There's another way to do this though. PA, we're going to, I hold the command or control down, PA, New Jersey, New York, and we'll say Delaware is the other one. So we've got to go find Delaware. We create the group and we're just going to say Mid-Atlantic, right? And so now we can see that Mid-Atlantic includes these states. And so what we really have to do here is go through each of these. So if you want it to follow along with me, that's certainly fine and you're welcome to do that. If you're not, just bear with me and I'll go ahead and I'll pause my recording. I'll go ahead and do them all and then I'll come back so that you're not watching me type. Okay, I've done all those. Your titles and state groupings could potentially be different than mine. But other, is everything that's not US or null. And then I've got US military, which are those AE, AO, AP kind of ones. And then I've broken up the states into other areas. So I'm going to hit apply and I'm going to hit OK. And now if you see, now I've got a new data point that was not part of my original data set that is a geographical data piece because it's really stemming off of the state, but now I've got a paperclip, which means that I've grouped a whole bunch together. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to pull out the state. I'm going to keep my country because I happen to know that even though the name of my new group is US region, I also had some of the provinces and things like that in there. So I just want to make sure that I'm just sticking with the US for now. And I'm going to put US region actually, let me stop that. I'm going to take my ship state out of color. And I'm actually going to take that US region and put that into color. So now instead of, 50 some odd, because it's going to be more than 50 because of the military, instead of having so many different lines, I only have lines that actually match up with my region. I also really don't want the military one in there because it kind of messes a little bit up. So I'm going to actually go and drag my US region into filter and I'm going to uncheck US military. And so that just gets rid of that. So now I have the Mid-Atlantic, Midwest, the Mountain region, New England, Northeast Central, Pacific, South Atlantic, South Central, and Southwest. And so now I can see not only what sales totals were each year, to each of those regions, but I can also see how they actually compare with each other. And so I can see generally, with 1 year's worth of exception here, that my purple, which is South Atlantic, seems to be where most sales actually are occurring. So that's something that's pretty pretty interesting to me when I actually do it this way. Now, just as a refresher, if I wanted to actually have the data points or the actual values on each data point, I could take that order total and I could actually put that into label, and now I have all of those. Makes it a lot more cluttered. So we don't want that, but I just wanted to have a refresh to show that that was something that I certainly could do. For now, again, just to kind of make things a little easier to see for the moment. Actually, I want to show you something else too. So if I wanted to edit that filter, I could hit edit filter. And that'll pull up everything. And we see that I unchecked the US military. That's annoying to do every single time. So something else I could do is click on the arrow. And instead of edit filter, I could click on show filter. And now what happens is on the right-hand side of my screen, I have everything that I could potentially check, and I can uncheck things, as I'd like here on that. So what I want to do is I'm going to uncheck everything. And we're just going to stick with the Mid-Atlantic for right now. Actually, let's look at the Mid-Atlantic versus the South Atlantic. So we'll just keep Mid-Atlantic and South Atlantic just so that we have two things in there. And so we can take a look at those two data points. And now, again, we're looking at the year and we're looking at the order total. Maybe I also want to see what kind of discount was there a discount or a sale or something going on at that point? Could that have affected the way that these sales went? So let's take that discount amount and let's put it next to our sum order total. So now we've got the sum of our discount amount. Now we've got two graphics showing up. And of course, to note, we haven't formatted our discount amount as a currency, so it doesn't appear that way. So let's first do that so that we actually have that correct. So we want to format, and remember, we want to go back into our numbers. We want it to do, I think we just did standard currency for that. So we'll just hit standard currency, and now everything's in currency. So we certainly could do that. We can also do, now we've got this dual line because we've got two measures here. So let's click on dual line and see what happens. Not really much, right? It's kind of the same thing. So, but what happens now is you see we've got the order total and the discount amount here. So now we've got two graphics really. So we've got now a graphic for the Mid-Atlantic and a graphic for the South Atlantic, where now instead of the color being associated with the region and the two different graphs dealing with discount and order total, we've got the two different graphs for the region, and now the colors have to do with the discount amount and the order total. So we can see the relationship between those. The other thing that we see here is that if we just look at this, right? If we look at this visualization, it really looks like in some cases, the discount amount and the order total are either even or the discount's more than the total. And certainly that doesn't make logical sense to us. So if we take a look at our axes here, our discount amount axis goes from 0 to about 500, I'm assuming. And our order total axis goes from 0 to about 10,000. So we're on completely different levels here. So one thing that we want to do is we want to try to even those out. So we're on the same level playing field with that. So in order to do that, what we want to do is we want to basically synchronize these axes. So let's go over to this order total here. We're going to right click, and we've got this pop up here. We're just going to click synchronize axis. So now on all of our visualizations, I'll do it again just so you see what happens, right? So here's where we started. Once we hit synchronize axis, look how flat that discount amount winds up getting. So now we've got that discount amount and that order total on all 4 places where they appear actually becoming evened out. And so they're on the same playing field. All right, so we're going to go back to this. So we went back to our regular graphic, except now we've got Mid-Atlantic and South Atlantic in the color here. But again, I want to see how everything evens out. So I want everything to appear on the same visualization. So what I'm going to do is click on the sum order total, click on dual axis, and now I've got all of these data points together, and we still need to go and synchronize our axes again. So now we've got to synchronize the axis again. And now we've got 4 really lines represented here. Our blue lines are representing the Mid-Atlantic. Our orange lines are representing South Atlantic. And then the intensity of the color is whether it's the order total or the discount amount. So the darker lines are for the discount amount, the lighter lines are for the order total, and then we can see how everything happens to be matching up. So it looks like, if I'm just like eyeballing this, it looks like there was less discounts given in 2018 and into 2019 for the Mid-Atlantic region versus the South Atlantic region in total. So in terms of the dollar amount of the discount, which could potentially correlate to the differences here in the actual sales total. It is also possible. I don't like this color scheme, right? This is a little tough for me to kind of take a look at. So if I click on color, I can actually edit. Oh, well, one thing I can also do is I can put little dots. So if you see where it says markers here, if I click the one in the middle, now I've got like little dots, which help me show exactly where the data points are. I happen to like that. So I'll keep that. And then I'll click on edit colors. And now I can actually choose my color palette here. So automatic is just the automatic Tableau one. If you have an audience member who may be colorblind, for example, you can actually assign a color palette that is more easily viewable by those that are colorblind. So if I want to pick that colorblind palette, I pick it, I click assign palette, it changes my colors. So now instead of orange and light orange and light blue, and now I've got grays in there, and then I can hit apply and okay, and so it's changed my colors on me a little bit there. If I want to just purely pick my colors, I can certainly do that as well. So I could say that let's say we'll just do I'll just pick Tableau 20 here. So I could say that the Mid-Atlantic, let's say we'll make that green. So see if I click Mid-Atlantic and double click the green or that teal, it would be that Mid-Atlantic order total. We'll make that purple. I'm just going to pick random colors. South Atlantic discount amount, we'll make that red. And South Atlantic order total, we'll make that, I guess we'll make it this brownish color. And so I can hit assign palette. Oh, see, and if I hit assign palette this time, now I kind of reset everything. So I'm going to hit that. I think I did purple. We did, I think orange. We left that. And then this color. So then I hit apply. Okay. And now my colors have all changed again. So I can, like, for example, like you might want to do something in your school colors. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to change it, like for my high school colors, I'll just pick hue circle here, which is a lot of different colors. So I could do purple, do a yellow, and there's only really one yellow. So I'll make orange for something else, right? So I mean, I can really play around with that an awful lot if I choose to do that. So that's just a little bit about how the color piece works. I'm going to close this out. I want to show you a little bit about size. So we can say, let's say number of items, how many items were sold. I could put that in size. And again, now I'm going to change a little bit with the thickness of my line. So I can certainly do that as well. Another thing that you may want to do is change these text headers, right? And so we can certainly do that. So I would want to edit my axis here. There we go. Edit axis took a little second to pop up here. And here we've got the title. The title is just the discount amount. And I'm just going to change it to something. So for dollar discounted, right? So just the number discounted. And I might do a subtitle. If I uncheck automatic, I can write a subtitle. The amount of discount applied to order in dollars, right? So I'm just saying that. So I'm just going to do that. And so now you can see how that changed. And you can certainly do that so that everything makes more sense for all of those. I'm not going to go through every single one. You also may want to title your particular visualization, which will be very, very helpful as you start to build your dashboards. And so I'm just going to name this sample sheet 1, just so that way we have something in there. And so now you can see that. I may also want to change my tab here and just hit rename sample sheet 1, just so that I know exactly what it is that I'm working with. Some other things of note here. This is not the sum where it tells me the thickness. It's not really meaningful to me. We're just kind of looking to eyeball it. So I don't really need that there. So I can actually hide that card and get rid of it. I'm going to bring it back actually, no, I can't bring it back. If I wanted to show the card, I also could. I'll show you on this one. I can edit my color here. I can edit my title. I could have edited my sizes if I wanted to on the other one. And so I can certainly play around with that as well. So this is just a little bit more detail of the type of things that you can do with your visualizations. And again, if you go into that show me area, I can play with this. I can play with this one. I mean, you can really play around a lot with, I think this one's actually really interesting because it shows the relationship really between the discount and the order total. So really what you're doing with your visualization can vary significantly based on, on what you're planning on showing in the story that you're trying to tell, which is really kind of the main gist of this.